Hey guys, welcome back to Play Retro. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Javi. And in today's video, I finally want to drop my review of this console right here. This is Emulation's RG35XX Plus. And boy, that's a mouthful. As someone who's done extensive coverage of this handheld right here, I've done flashing tutorials, I've done box art tutorials, I've consoleized this, I've hooked this up to the TV, hooked it up with the Bluetooth. I've experienced basically everything this handheld has to offer. It's been well over 30 days since I've got it. So as you can see, this was delivered December 6th and today is January 11th. So you can see it's been well over 30 days I've had this thing. So I finally feel I'm ready to give you guys a proper review. I don't like to do early reviews just because you don't really know what you're getting until you've had it for an extensive amount of time. I finally played with this thing long enough to tell you whether or not I can recommend it. So without further ado, let's get right into this review. The RG35XX Plus, we can't talk about this handheld without talking about its predecessor, which is the regular RG35XX, its brother. First, let's talk about what makes this the Plus, right? All the refinements they made to this handheld. Start to finish, this handheld, hardware-wise, has been just polished in every single aspect I could possibly think of. So let's start from the top down, right? If we look at the screen side by side, every screen now comes with a black bezel. So if you get the gray model, also have a black bezel. It's just a nice improvement. And they also laid down the screen a little bit more flat. I don't know if you can see that here, but there's a little bit of a lip here where there isn't much of a lip here. Let's talk about this D-pad. The D-pad is much improved over the predecessor. So on the 35XX, the D-pad used to be like a little bit sharp. It's also pretty tall and narrow. And it's also a little bit firm, where on the XX, it's a little bit easier to press now. It's also been rounded all the way around, and they've added like a nice texture to it. So overall, it's a big improvement over the 35XX. The Plus's D-pad is just much nicer and just overall easier to use and more fun to use. Even like turning side to side, this just feels better. Action buttons are about the same. They have changed the face of them. Like this one has like these colored letters on them. It's a small change. It's nice. And then the menu button has been moved a little bit. It's been moved up a little bit to be more centered. And then they moved the start and select down. A small change. They changed the angle a little bit. So that's nice as well. As far as the speaker grill's cut right here has been like made a little bit smaller here. And then the grill itself has been changed. No real big changes here. As far as the overall feel of the handheld, I feel like they definitely upped the grade of the plastic. This feels like almost Nintendo quality plastic. Like it's just very good plastic. Versus this one I can see, you know, people saying it doesn't feel that great. I like the way it feels, but it's definitely improved on this one. I don't know if that's the texture or what they did to it, or maybe they just used a different plastic, but the plastic on this one definitely feels more premium than it does on this one. Okay, and then talking about the other buttons we cannot forget about is the shoulder buttons. So you can see right away these buttons are flat and these buttons have an angle. So that just makes the handheld just that much more ergonomic. It's not like a huge difference. The handheld, it's still vertical. So there's going to be compromises in ergonomics. This is basically as comfortable as a vertical handheld can get, you know? Where I never had a problem with these shoulder buttons. But I mean, some people did. Or here, you can't really complain. What's there to complain about? And they've also made these a little bit more durable as well. I've seen people tear this down, and on this unit, there was problems where people were breaking their buttons because like the clip or something back here would break over time. Or like here, I've heard they've improved it, so these buttons should last a lot longer. So if we turn these on. Obviously the displays are a little bit different. This one is slightly brighter than this one. So the Plus kind of takes a hit in brightness, but it's not that big of a difference. But I did want to note this right here. So you can see right away, they have fixed the LED light indicator. Before it was too dim to see in the daylight. It's still on, you can't see it on camera. but right here it's much improved. And they also give you a toggle in the menu now that where you can turn this off if it bothers you when you put it in sleep mode, which is really nice. Also, the power and reset buttons have been recessed. So you can see here, the buttons come out just a little bit, where here, the buttons have been pushed in, especially the reset button. Sorry, I can get this to focus. So if you can see that, it's a lot more recessed than it is on this one. And I never had a problem with these buttons, but I can see this like accidentally being turned on. And then this is the volume button and the volume rocker here. Also, the style of the volume rocker has been changed as well. This just makes it easier so you can tell without looking at it where's the top and the bottom, which is nice, versus like this one you can't really tell. You know, you just kind of have to, you can kind of look at it and press the top or the bottom. So it's a nice little notch they put here. Nice little quality of life changes here. Over on the top, they did style this a little bit more, so it looks a little bit cleaner. Not much changes. And then over on the bottom, as far as like, maybe the distance has been changed a little bit, but no real changes from there. And then the last thing that was changed was now we have an accessible battery compartment, which is really nice because this one, if you had to change anything on this, like if you ever had to change the battery, you have to take the whole console apart, where here you don't have to do that, which is really nice. So I'm going to get this powered down. I actually want to open that up for you guys. Okay, guys, so I got my screwdriver here and we're going to go ahead and open this up. Okay, and there it is. There's your battery, and you can see there's a little plug right here where the battery actually connects. So as you can see, there's a little bit of tape in there holding the battery down, but you can see the size of the battery has also been increased to 3,300 milliamp hours. So that's a 600 milliamp hour increase from this battery, which this is the V2. So if you have the V1, that's an even bigger increase, because the V1 was 2,100 milliamp hours. Then the V2, which is this one, was 2,600 milliamp hours, and now this one's 3,300 milliamp hours. So depending on which one you got, this was, Ambernick is saying you get about 2 more hours of gameplay on this battery versus the V2. But versus the V1, if you have the 2,100 milliamp hour battery, you'll probably get a 4-hour difference. So that's pretty cool. It's just a little wire in here, and like I said, this is pretty easy to take apart. You know, you just need a screwdriver. I'm gonna go ahead and put this back, and just like that, super easy. Also, as well as that, internally we got a better processor. So not only can it do PS1, but now we get a little bit of PSP, we get DS, we get a little bit of Dreamcast. The Dreamcast is going to be downscaled, of course, but you can still play Dreamcast on this thing, which is pretty crazy versus this. I would still say this is perfect emulation up to PS1, and then you'll have those systems are like bonus systems, you know. DS is going to play well. However, you got to note that DS is going to be a compromised experience just because, you know, DS is a 2-screen console and you're going to play on this, which doesn't have a touchscreen either. So just some things to keep in mind. Outside of that, it's a little bit thicker as well. If you look at it side by side to the old one. So it does feel a little bit better. It's a little bit more ergonomic. It's just the overall big upgrade from its predecessor, which was a bestseller as is, and I love this handheld. So Ambernick, they really listen to all the feedback all their customers have been giving them. And the best part is, it's not that much more money. So if we go over to Ambernick's website, so not only did the regular 35XX receive a price cut, so it's down to 52 right now, and they have it on sale right now for whatever reason. But this released a price cut. And then the 35XX Plus is only 64. So what's that? A $10 difference, $12 difference. If these were 55 at some point, so it's like $9 more. Really, if you think about it, it's really not that much more. and that's pretty crazy. You get all you also get Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, as well as 4 times the RAM. So you have a gigabyte of RAM versus 256 on this, and it's just all around better. Not only that, software wise, if you look in here, they've added RetroArch to the stock OS, which is really nice. So now people can't really complain about emulated performance because it's running on RetroArch now. And RetroArch is known for having really good emulation performance. So, and all the little tweaks and stuff that RetroArch has. Obviously, this I've gone ahead and customized the stock OS here. So yours is probably not going to look like this if you do purchase this handheld. Yeah, it's a big upgrade over its predecessor. Just letting you have a look at my system and how I have it configured and stuff. So just so you guys can see my super illegal playthrough of Pokemon Fire Red, where I've hacked in a Lugia and a Latias. Just for fun, I wanted to have a playthrough where my starter was a Lugia. So I haven't actually done much in this yet because I've been busy like making videos and stuff, but it's super fun. I'm definitely gonna finish this playthrough. But just take a look at my Lugia. Super funny. So yeah, it's pretty amazing what Anbernic was able to do for just $10 more. Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, better processor, 4 gigs of RAM, and then they've just polished the console entirely. I also forgot to mention they've also rounded the corners of this as well. You notice here, the edges of the console, they've been rounded as well. So it's just so much more comfy to play on. If you have this console, you probably don't need this one, but just all the benefits of it, I'll probably sell my 35XX to get one of these because it's just a better experience to play on. And this, I want to say this is so close to being a perfect handheld, a perfect Game Boy style vertical handheld, you know, with your screen on top and your buttons on the bottom. This thing is just so close to perfect. So now I actually want to get to its shortcomings, right? I can't just speak positive of this handheld. Where it really lacks really is the software. Where it always lacks is the software, and that's because, you know, Anbernic just they focus too much on the hardware and not on the software. That's why we always end up in the same situation with Anbernic. Even after updating the system, even after customizing the OS to my liking and stuff, it's still clunky. It's still not great. Like all the things wrong with this thing is software related for the most part. For example, a lot of users were saying that they were getting heating issues. I actually experienced this myself, where the console would fail to shut down properly. This was actually an issue on the original firmware. So I'm not sure exactly what was happening. I do want to read to you guys some. So right here, if we see on Reddit, RG35XX battery issue. How come the battery, my RG35XX Plus drained from 100 to 0 in one night? I charged it using an old Xiaomi charger. After that, I used it for 30 minutes without any sign of battery bar depleted before I shut down and go to sleep. Now it shows red 0% indicator on the screen. I tried to plug it in, turn it on, but the battery blinking still shows 0% on the menu before shutting down. And then he goes into, okay, so he goes into the update fixed it. So basically this was something related to the first firmware on this RG35XX. I don't know what it was, but like this happened to me as well after doing a shutdown. My unit got hot even though it was turned off that one time. So basically what it does is it's like a glitch or something where you turn it off, but it fails to turn off and it remains on. So it's just running the processor in like a weird state. So that's kind of something that happens. So I highly recommend you guys, if you just pick this thing up and it's on the original firmware, check out my video on how to update it. You want to be on the latest firmware. I believe it's December 23rd, the latest update. You want to be on that one, and that should fix the issue, because there was a few people experienced this, as well as myself. I experienced this. And Anbernic has reached out to some people and said that, you know, you should try unplugging the battery and then cycle the battery, like let it drain down all the way to 0 and then charge it back all the way up a few times, and it should resolve the issue. But it's really like some sort of glitch or bug that happens with this handheld. So I highly recommend you guys get the latest update so you don't have to run into this issue. It has been resolved, just so you guys know. But that brings me to my point, right? This is why I don't like to do early reviews, because things like this go unseen and no one talks about it. So I rather go through it myself and then tell you guys, hey, you know, this is something that is wrong with the handheld. You know, it is a software issue. It's not a hardware issue, so it can be resolved, and it has been resolved. But it's just something that people need to be aware of, especially as somebody, you know, if you buy this right now, you're technically still an early adopter because there is no custom firmware for this right now. That's really where this thing lacks. You know, we still have to deal with Anbernic's stock operating system, and while they have done a lot to make it better, you know, they have updated it 3 times within a month, which is kind of amazing on their part. You got to give them credit for at least trying to fix it. They have fixed some of the issues. They have added nice features, like you can now press the power button to, you know, enable DS stylus support. You can now press the button to switch from D-pad to analog on 3 different systems, on a PSP, Naomi, and Dreamcast, which is really nice to have. Even though you can do that on the original firmware, but they did fix some of the bugs and issues. For example, on some emulators, people were reporting they weren't getting the correct frame rate. I think it was SNES on certain games. And then on top of that, other people were reporting that the Wi-Fi wasn't stable, wouldn't remain on, and it would disconnect and stuff like that. Same thing applies to Bluetooth and just like random issues. It's gotten better, but it's still not great. This thing has Wi-Fi, but it doesn't have over-the-air updates or scraping, right? This thing has Bluetooth, but it doesn't have Bluetooth audio. It just has Bluetooth controller support, which is not even that great. There still requires like setup to get it going, right? It has HDMI out, but it's like clunky and it doesn't work that well. It's just, that's kind of the experience you get with Anbernic, unfortunately, with their software. But it's definitely still an improvement over the stock on this thing, which didn't have RetroArch, and it didn't have Wi-Fi, it didn't have Bluetooth. So this is a review as of right now, right? If Anbernic releases another update where they release over-the-air updates and Bluetooth support for headphones and stuff like that, this thing's gonna get way better. Or if we get custom firmware maybe in a week or 2, this thing's gonna get way better. As of right now, if you pick this thing up, you're still an early adopter because there's no custom firmware and you're just waiting for things to happen. As far as custom firmware, there are a lot in the works. There's obviously Garlic 2.0, that's in the works. You have MUOS is coming along nicely, still pre-alpha as well. You have MinUI recently has just got a pre-alpha as well. That's still very early as well, but there's progress being made to custom firmwares, as well as I think Batocera Lite is being worked on, actively being developed. So the future looks really good software wise for this handheld. I personally would like to see like maybe Gelos or ArcOS. Those are like my favorite custom firmwares, but I don't think they can do it for this. Those are like rock chip custom firmwares. Any custom firmware is still better than the stock, you know? And that's not to knock at the stock because the stock has a lot of nice features. The stock still has a search function, which works really well. It has a RetroArch, like I said. It has a favorites. It has a history. It even has a gamepad tester here, which is really handy and nice. It's a lot of features that you don't get on custom firmware a lot of times, so it's nice to see that Anbernic does this, you know. But yeah, I do want to demo some games so you guys can just have a look at this thing and just how well it runs.
It's time to make some crazy money. Are you ready? Here we go. Sit down. It's showtime.
I want to say something about playing 3D games on a Game Boy. It just feels illegal. Like something about it feels like this shouldn't be able to be done.
Sit down. Take me to the top. It's showtime. Whoa! Hang on up. Got it. I hit it. You hit it. Who do you think you are? Let's go. Am I right? I hit it. Leave it to me. Oh! Am I right? Yeah, I hit it. Whoa. I hit it. Oh, go straight there.
So one thing to note is that when you map D-pad to analog, like in this game, it works with a D-pad as well, but even games with that you do have to map the D-pad to analog, using the D-pad for analog is not a perfect solution because you don't get those like partial inputs. So it's just something to note. Games that are designed to be used with analog, you would probably want to use a joystick. So just something to think about.
Leave it to me. Yeah. Go, Kevin. Am I right? Hey, what's your problem? Hey, go. Why you go? I can run fast, go. Yes, go. Wasting my time. Damn blast.
Okay, so I'm gonna pretend to do an unboxing for you guys, just so you guys can see what comes in the package for anybody who's never bought one of these. So you open the box up. Inside, not gonna look like this. Obviously, I've taken it apart, but inside will be your handheld like this in this little bag with this foam on top, and then you'll have your handheld. And then you're gonna have a little manual that looks like this, nice and folded up. You can open that up to see what it looks like, and then you're gonna have some cleaning cloths so you can apply this screen protector that will be in this bag. And then you'll also get a charging cable inside this little box, which is empty because I've taken it out. But that's kind of what it looks like, the unboxing, and that's everything included in the box. Hardware wise, this thing, there's no vertical handheld better than this handheld right now. As far as this size and this form factor, you're not going to get better at this price either. $64 US plus shipping. You can't beat it. You get the works Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, emulation capabilities up to PS1 with bonus systems and DS, PSP, Dreamcast, and a little bit of N64. You get a 8-hour battery life. You get really good, comfy controls. It doesn't really get much better than this, and this is so close to perfect. The last thing it really needs is custom firmware. That's really what this thing is. This thing's destined to be great when custom firmware comes out. That way we don't have to rely on Anbernic. I did also want to note one small defect on my console. If I turn this on, okay. I don't know if you can see that, but I do have a little bit of light bleed along the edge of my handheld. It is fairly small and not that noticeable. On this side, I think there's a little bit. So it's like a small thing. It's like they forgot to glue it or something. But it's like probably one of the most negligible defects. So it's really not a big deal. But I did want to note it as a defect of my handheld. So that is one small thing. You could probably glue that in too. It's not like the biggest deal. The only thing is it is a little bit more noticeable at night. I do notice the light shining a little bit when if I turn it this way at night, if I'm playing at night. In my time using this device, I've just had nothing but fun with it. No real game breaking glitches or anything. The stock OS, despite being ugly, it does work. It is functional for the most part. Just, don't mess with RetroArch too much or anything like that. But even with some of the updates and the polishes, the bug fixes that Anbernic has done to the stock OS, I still wouldn't say it's that great. I would say we need to wait for custom firmware before picking this up. As it stands, if you bought it right now, you would just have to deal with the stock OS, and it's not horrible, but it's not great either. This thing's an amazing piece of tech. It really is. You can put up to 2 terabytes of storage if you want in here. Like a crazy amount of space for games. So overall, I want to give this thing a rating. I'd say with the stock OS, I think this is an 8 out of 10. I think it's a good purchase. A very good purchase, even with stock OS. And then when custom firmware comes out, I give this a 10 out of 10. Perfect handheld. Handheld of the year. No problem. And like just putting it side by side to its predecessor, not only did this thing give this thing a price reduction, so this is even better value. And I've already said this is an incredibly good budget handheld. This is even better now and then you just have every upgrade possible. Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, better CPU, more RAM, more battery, just plus, plus, plus across the board. This is how you do a plus. Companies should look to this device as how to make a successor to their already winning designs. This is a perfect example of how you can iterate on an already successful formula, which was your RG35XX to your RG35XX Plus. So yeah, it's gonna be it for this review, guys. You know, I can't say I don't love this thing. I absolutely love this thing. I love making videos for it. I love playing it. I love picking it up. I love holding it in my hands. I love the fact that I even got this thing. I was a day one backer of this thing when I even first heard the rumors of this thing way back when, in like 6 months ago, when people were talking about, oh, they're gonna make one with Wi-Fi. I was like, oh yes, I'm super on board. And then when it finally came out, I instantly bought it, and I do not regret it whatsoever. It's been a really good handheld. It hasn't given me any real problems I can really complain about. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, definitely consider dropping a like, subscribe for more content if you haven't already done so. Let me know in the comment section below if you already have an RG35XX Plus, or if you plan on picking one up. I will provide links to pick one up if you are thinking about purchasing one. Let me know what you guys think. Is this the perfect vertical handheld? What can we do to improve this handheld as it stands right now, besides custom firmware? And if you made it all the way to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.